we were joking, Harold, I, and me and Ira, before things got started, and Harold was saying that I bulldozed my way through the other judges to have the opportunity to introduce Ira and present him with the award. And I'd like to say that that wasn't true, but it's totally true. And that's largely because I'm a failed historian myself. When I went off to Howard University, I totally wanted to be a historian. History was my favorite subject. And the reason why was because history really has the ability to, if I may be so profane, to knock you on your ass and to really take presumptions that you have about yourself and about the world and just turn them totally inside out. For me at Howard University, it was conceptions of myself as an African American. And I think in Ira Katznelson's book, Fear Itself, and also in his book, When Affirmative Action Was White, which was before that, is conceptions about what it means to be liberal. One of the most important characters in Ira's book is Theodore Bilbo. And Bilbo is absolutely fascinating because as Ira describes him and quotes other people describe him, he's a staunch supporter of Roosevelt. He campaigned saying he's going to go to Congress and go to the Senate. I think the quote is giving the same kind of hell that Roosevelt, gave. Talks about being a 100% supporter of the New Deal. Theodore Bilbo, if anybody knows anything about Theodore Bilbo, at that time was also a senator from Mississippi. And Mississippi at the time Theodore Bilbo was there was in essence a kleptocracy. It was not a democracy in any sort of sense of the word. And the other side of Theodore Bilbo is he probably was the most profane, although he has a lot of competition for this, the most profane white supremacist to ever inhabit the United States Congress. Theodore Bilbo once said on his radio show, as Ira documents in the book, that the way to keep black people, and I don't think that was the word he used, away from the voting booth, was to see them the night before the election. Mississippi had, I believe, the largest numbers of lynchings in the country's history, so you can get an idea of what Theodore Bilbo thought democracy was supposed to be. I do a lot of arguing with conservatives and right-wingers in my journalism, and it's always the least rewarding aspect of being a journalist. It's the part where you don't really feel like you grow the most. The part where you really feel like you grow the most is when you're arguing with your fellow travelers. And I think the most beautiful thing about Ira's work is it forces us to argue with each other. This is a period where a lot of us, go around talking about how we wish Barack Obama would be a Roosevelt. Why don't he do what Roosevelt did? We need a New Deal. Well, Ira forces us to look at how the New Deal actually came about and what it meant to actually be a Roosevelt in Roosevelt's time. It forces us into the dirty muck of politics and how politics were made. And forces those of us who, want, many of the goals that I think, the Hillman Foundation stands for, to look at how those goals were accomplished in America. The dirty word that Ira really brings into the conversation that you don't hear too much in politics today is the word, or the phrase, white supremacy, which Ira proves was absolutely essential to the New Deal and to everything that we love, about bringing forth a social safety net that we would like to see increased. I urge you guys to read this book. I really do, is just as fellow travelers, to understand the fight that we're in, to understand the cost of the fight, and to understand how the process by which the steps that we so honor were made before us. Without further ado, Ira Katznelson.
This gratifying award effectively offers a tribute to my publisher, W.W. Norton, and it brings honor to my editor, Bob Weil, who leads its Live or Write imprint, and to my agent, Gloria Loomis, both leading figures in their professions. And this award is particularly satisfying for how it evokes the values of a great progressive who was a heroic figure in my childhood home. As it turns out, Sidney Hillman makes 3 appearances in my book. The first comes in 1933, when he led a chorus of praise for the New Deal's National Industrial Recovery Act. My second reference concerns Hillman's appointment by President Roosevelt to the National Defense Advisory Commission in 1940, with responsibilities for manpower and labor issues. And that position heralded the active role unions soon would play to mobilize war production and defeat Hitler. Hillman's third presence in Fear Itself comes when Senator James Eastland and Representative John Rankin, both from Mississippi, both blatantly racist, attacked him for encouraging black as well as white soldiers to vote by giving a federal ballot to every person in the field during the presidential election of 1944. Eastland and Rankin successfully promoted an alternative law that effectively limited such participation. And during the congressional debate, Rankin, also an outspoken anti-Semite, castigated Hillman for having supported an effective soldier ballot, calling him, and I quote, a foreign-born communistic crackpot. Rankin insisted, quote, all the Frankfurters and all the Hillmans and all the Winchells and all the radicals of the CIO cannot run us out of the Democratic Party. At that very moment, the majority of Democrats in each congressional chamber hailed from one of the 17 states that practiced mandatory racial segregation. These appearances by Sidney Hillman signify critical themes in fear itself. These include understanding why the radical moment of the early New Deal did not last, why the United States developed a national security state, and how Southern Democrats critically shaped these and other outcomes in the 1930s and 1940s. I thank the Foundation for this wonderful award. I thank the Foundation for its great work. Please know that my smile runs deep. Many thanks.